Hello from Cheltenham and another edition of the Racing Post Postscript with myself, Sam Hanson, and my colleague Joshua Stacey, who you might well know as the Racing Josh. We're at the end of the November meeting now, which was 2 days rather than 3, but nonetheless we had some very, very exciting racing. And Josh, we'll start with Saturday, and the highlight of course was the Bet of It to Gold Cup, won by Happy Diva. What did you make of that performance?
Very impressive, I thought. I thought she really stuck to her task. I thought when Barry Garrity was looming large on Brilland days, I think she might get pipped here. But she fought out the victory, and I thought she was quite impressive in the end.
She's a consistent type as well, isn't she?
Well, she travelled here well last season, and I think she fell at the top of the hill when she's going well or unseated. So it was quite nice for her to really go well and put in a performance, which I think she was capable of. She's ran some huge races. She ran some huge races behind Surname last year. So yeah, it was nice. I think she's a worthy winner, and it was nice for Richard Patrick as well.
Absolutely, yeah, young jockey going places possibly. A horse who was going very, very well, but then tipped up was Slate House. Can we trust his jumping going forward?
I thought he jumped relatively well. I don't think he was massively. I think he hit the first, and then Robbie Power did a good job of looking after him all the way around, and I think he was quite upset after. I think he got there very well. I thought Slate House was going to win the race. I think he was travelling the best, and he looked like he was going to pick up quite nicely up the hill. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to do so, and it was a crashing fall, and hopefully he's all well and we can see him maybe back here next month.
It was a great day for Philip Hobbs. He had Jatalui and Time Hill. How far can Time Hill go, do you think?
Well, third in the Champion Bumper. That race always works out to be fairly well. Envoy Allen looks a machine. So I think the world is his oyster. I think he could definitely turn up here in March and do the business. I think an Albert Bartlett or a Ballymore would be right up his street. He looks like a real stayer, and it was a good weight carrying performance. He gave the whole field weight, and I really do think he's going to be one to beat come March.
And there were some other very impressive performances on Saturday, and I know that All Mankind particularly caught your eye.
He did. I think any horse that pulls that hard, around Cheltenham especially, at such an undulating course, you need to take anyone's eye. I think Dan Skelton really has found something special, potentially, and I think he needs to do his best to look after him, because he really does look like a serious horse. I think any horse, like I said, that pulls that hard, and I watched it back last night, and he jumped very well, and he still looked like he had plenty of running there at the end, and I really think Triumph he could be a huge, and maybe better than British going into the Triumph so far.
Okay. And on to Sunday, we had the Racing Post Arkle trial, and it was a race that perhaps not many would have seen the sort of foretold the conclusion of, but put the kettle on. Very impressive mare.
Well, she was quite backed rather, and yeah, I think it was a shock to me, definitely. Al Dancer looks like a very, very good horse when winning here last month. Getaway Trump travelled into the race like the winner again. I'm unsure. I think maybe the ground might be against him. I'm not too sure what was up with Al Dancer. He did stay on very well, and Rouge Vif was slightly disappointing, I must say, after being very well back before. I think the one to take from it again, and we said this last month, everyone said this last month, is Getaway Trump. He seems to travel into his races very, very well. It looks like the ground might just take it out of him, and he might not relish a Cheltenham Hill, but he's definitely going to have a big day. But all credit to the winner, very impressive from the front. She jumped them silly in the end, and it was a great ride from Aidan Coleman as well.
It's an easy thing to say, but she would be the one I'd take out of it just because she was so eye-catching today. And the Schlur Chase, of course, only 4 runners, but it was a thriller. And Defi Du Seuil, what a cracking little horse he is. Yeah,
well, when Harry Cobden sort of made the pace with Politolog, I think going into the race, the Paul Nicholls team were quite hopeful. He'd obviously had a wind up, and he nearly beat Altior here in March. And I think that was a really good sort of benchmark for the novice form, because the Arkles looked quite a weak race with Duke de Geneva, and Defi Du Seuil put Duke de Geneva in his place when finishing second to Chacun Pour Soi at Punchestown. So I think the thing I've taken from that is how good could Chacun Pour Soi be. Defi Du Seuil was very hearty, and was a classic Defi Du Seuil performance. He's a really strong-willed horse, a horse that seems to really knuckle down when going gets tough, and again an impressive horse. What do you think? Do you think Champion Chase or Ryanair?
For me, well, up to today, I would have said his better form was over 2.5. So I would have been leaning towards the Ryanair, but he did very, very well. He was impressive today. He was impressive, and I think he's now going to go to the Tingle Creek. So, I'd fancy him for the Tingle Creek. Certainly would. I think it all hinges on how good Chacun Pour Soi turns out to be. And next time we see him, that will probably, throw it for me whether I think go for the Champion Chase or the Ryanair.
I think with a bit of juice in the ground is important for Defi Du Seuil. I think quick ground here in March might not be his absolute cup of tea. I don't think he's the quickest horse in the world, and I do think the reason why he did win today is because he's a very likeable staying type, and I think he just outstayed them on probably tacky conditions, and hopefully it can be similar conditions in March and we see him really revved up, and I think he's going to go close in whatever race he goes for.
Absolutely. And of course the feature race today was the Greatwood Hurdle. Possibly not a vintage Greatwood, but competitive nonetheless. Arambe, is he progressive? Can he go places?
I'm not massively convinced. I think the Greatwood wasn't the strongest. Lizzie Kelly, I thought, was going to win it on Monsieur Lecoq going around the bend. But you've got to give it to the winner. He was a winner at Chepstow last season as a novice. He was very, very good bumper form, but he's not really shown it at the highest level. He gets his day-to-day. I know the Connections were absolutely thrilled with it. I'm not 100% sure it will be a renewal that we'll look back on in years to come and go, yeah. But I think that's been the case with a lot of the handicaps. I think some of the big horses have shied away. I don't think the Bet Victor Gold Cup was the strongest in the world. And I remember in recent years, even obviously I'm quite young, but I remember 5 or 6 years ago, you'd have probably just off the cuff champion hurdle contenders in the Greatwood Hurdle. Even last year, Silver Streak, who ran very creditably in the champion hurdle. I think I wouldn't be putting him into my tracker straight away, but it was a good performance nevertheless, and one that you can look back on and go, it was a nice performance, and I'm sure Connections are thrilled.
So who would you be putting into your tracker from this weekend?
I really quite liked II Charlie. Now he finished 6 lengths behind Holston. He was hampered, and he didn't jump very well when the race really got going, but I think it was only a second novice chase start. I think there's going to be a race there for him, and if he can put a clear round of jumping in, I think he's the one to take from this weekend, even though he might not have been right there in the places.
Interesting. Thank you very much for that, Josh. Well, that's it for Cheltenham's November meeting for this year. Don't forget to download the free Racing Post app for all the must-have info, and of course, with Christmas now on the horizon, why not head to the Racing Post shop for some must-have Christmas gifts. Goodbye.